The repair room on the warship UES Valiant was loud and busy. Chief Engineer Alex Rivera cleaned oil from his hands and looked around at the mess. Metal pieces were stacked everywhere. Broken wires sparked here and there. The smell of burned electronics filled the air. His team had been pushing every machine too hard for 3 days straight while fighting the enemy. "Rivera!" Captain Hayes called out over all the noise. "I need you in Workshop 7. Right now." Alex grabbed his tools and ran through hallways that still had burn marks from that morning's attack. Workshop 7 was normally used for fixing delicate computer parts. But when he got there, he found something much more complicated waiting for him. Princess Naira Zapani sat straight up on the table, trying to look royal even though she was clearly in pain. Her skin was bright silver and had special patterns that showed she was from Ethereum royalty. Her pointed ears moved as she listened to sounds around the ship. But what caught Alex's attention was her armor, or what was left of it. The armor covering her body looked like nothing Alex had ever seen in any human book. Crystal parts glowed with soft light, connected to what looked like living metal that changed colors when she breathed. Several pieces were cracked or completely broken, showing a complex web of thin threads underneath that seemed to grow right out of her skin. "Your Highness," Captain Hayes was saying, "Chief Rivera is our best systems engineer. If anyone can figure out how to fix your armor, it's him." "With respect, Captain," Alex interrupted, "I work on spaceship systems, not whatever this is." Princess Naira's bright eyes focused on him so intensely that Alex felt like she was studying every part of him. "Engineer Rivera," she said, her accent making his name sound musical, "my bio-armor is connected to my nervous system. If it is not fixed within the next 6 hours, the broken connections will cause permanent brain damage. Your Highness, surely your own people have experts who are not here." She cut him off with royal authority that allowed no argument. "My ship was destroyed. My technical support staff did not survive getting off the ship. You are what is available." Captain Hayes leaned closer to Alex. "The princess's armor gives her strong defensive abilities that we're going to need in the next fight. Make this work, Chief." As the captain left, Alex found himself alone with alien royalty and a technical challenge that made fixing faster-than-light engines look like changing light bulbs. He set down his toolkit and tried to look more confident than he felt. "Okay, Your Highness, I'm going to need to understand exactly what I'm working with here. This armor, is it mechanical, biological, or something else entirely?" "Both," Princess Naira replied, moving her position very carefully. "Ethereum bio-armor is grown rather than built. The base structure is crystal, but it develops nerve pathways that connect with the wearer's nervous system over several years of bonding." Alex looked at one of the damaged sections more closely, noticing how the edges seemed to be trying to reconnect themselves. "So it's alive, in a way. It responds to my thoughts and emotions, gives me extra strength and protection, and watches my body functions. But the connection makes it extremely sensitive to damage." She paused, her silver skin becoming slightly darker. "And to touch. How sensitive?" Alex asked, already dreading the answer. "Imagine that every plate is connected to nerve endings. Direct contact with the connection points." She hesitated, searching for the right words. "It is quite intimate." Alex stared at the damaged armor, finally understanding why the princess seemed so tense about the repair process. This wasn't just fixing equipment. It was basically performing surgery on a conscious, responsive system that was part of her body. Your Highness, I have to ask, are you sure you want me to do this? I mean, if it's as sensitive as you're describing. Engineer Rivera, Princess Naira said with quiet dignity, I am a military commander in the middle of a war zone. Personal comfort is less important than being ready for battle. Alex nodded, picking up a neural interface scanner to begin studying the damage patterns. Then let's start with the basics. How do these connection points normally respond to contact? Carefully, she replied with what might have been the ghost of a smile. Very carefully. The first damaged section was on her left arm, where what looked like living metal had been torn away to show the delicate threads beneath. As Alex moved his hands closer, the bio-armor began to respond, patterns of light flowing toward where he was, as if the system was trying to identify this new presence. It knows you're there, Princess Naira observed, her voice carrying a note of surprise. Usually, the armor rejects contact from anyone except bonded technicians. Maybe it's desperate enough to accept help from whatever's available, Alex suggested, beginning to trace the damaged pathways with gentle finger pressure. Or maybe human electrical fields are similar enough to Ethereum ones that... He stopped mid-sentence as the armor plating suddenly flared with bright patterns of light and Princess Naira drew in a sharp breath. Did I hurt you? He asked immediately. No, she replied, though her voice was slightly strained. The armor is responding favorably. Continue, but slowly. These systems have been damaged for hours. They're very sensitive to any input. Alex resumed his examination, amazed at the complexity of what he was seeing. Every component seemed to serve multiple functions: mechanical protection, biological monitoring, and what appeared to be some kind of emotional regulation system, all built into one seamless whole. This is incredible, he murmured, watching light patterns flow through the crystal structure in response to his touch. The level of connection is beyond anything human engineering has achieved. It requires absolute trust, Princess Naira said quietly. The bonding process takes years, and once complete, the armor becomes as much a part of the wearer as any organic limb. Alex looked up at her, suddenly understanding how big what she was asking really was. And you're trusting me to work on it after knowing me for all of 10 minutes. I am trusting you because I have no choice, she corrected, but also because your touch does not feel hostile to the armor. That is unusual. As Alex continued his initial assessment, mapping the damage and trying to understand what repairs were needed, he found himself drawn into the rhythm of the bio-armor's responses. It was unlike any system he'd ever worked with, less like repairing a machine and more like learning to communicate with a living entity that happened to be made of crystal, metal, and glowing fibers. Engineer Rivera, Princess Naira said as he completed his preliminary examination, there is something you should know before we proceed with the actual repairs. What's that? The most severely damaged sections are those closest to my heart and spine. The areas where the neural connection is deepest. Her silver skin flushed darker again. Those repairs will require very intimate contact. Alex met her bright eyes, seeing both vulnerability and determination there. Your Highness, if you're having second thoughts about this. I am not, she said firmly. But I wanted you to understand what you are agreeing to. This will not be like any repair work you have done before. Looking at the damaged bio-armor, its light pattern still responding to his presence with what almost seemed like hope, Alex realized she was absolutely right. This wasn't going to be like any repair work he'd ever done before. It was going to be far more complicated. Alex began the actual repair work with the damaged sections on Princess Naira's arms and shoulders, areas that were complex enough to challenge his understanding, but not so intimately connected that mistakes would cause serious harm. The bio-armor responded to his touch like a living thing, light patterns shifting and flowing as he traced damaged pathways with careful finger pressure. The crystal matrix needs to be realigned before the neural threads can reconnect, Princess Naira explained, her voice maintaining clinical precision despite the obvious discomfort of having a stranger work on what was essentially part of her body. Feel for the vibration frequency. When the crystal sounds match, you'll sense a slight vibration. Alex pressed his palms against the damaged plating, surprised by the warmth that came from what looked like non-living material. "It's warm," he observed. "I expected something more mechanical." "The bio-armor keeps itself at body temperature," she replied. "It controls blood flow, monitors vital signs, even releases chemicals to help with stress management. The connection with Ethereum body systems is complete." As he worked, following her guidance to adjust the alignment of broken crystal sections, Alex began to understand why this technology was so wanted by the hegemony forces. The armor didn't just protect, it enhanced every aspect of the wearer's physical and mental abilities. "How long does the bonding process normally take?" he asked, carefully working on a section where the living metals seemed to be trying to grow back together. 7 years for basic connection, another 3 for full synchronization, Princess Naira said. "I began the bonding process when I was 10 years old, as is traditional for the royal family." Alex paused in his work. "You've been wearing this armor for most of your life." "It has been part of me longer than not," she confirmed. "Which is why the damage is so distressing. Imagine if someone had to surgically remove and reattach portions of your nervous system." The comparison made Alex's hands even more careful as he moved to the next damaged section. This one was closer to her shoulder blade, requiring him to work around the complex connection points where the armor's neural network connected to her spinal column. "The light patterns are changing," he observed. "Are they supposed to do that?" Princess Naira glanced down at her armor, noting the shifting colors. "They reflect my emotional state. Blue indicates calm focus. Green suggests healing processes. Amber warns of stress or pain. And the silver patterns?" She hesitated. "Comfort. The armor is indicating that it finds your touch non-threatening." Alex continued working, gradually developing an intuitive sense for how the bio-armor responded to different types of contact. Light pressure encouraged the healing processes, while firm, steady contact seemed to help stabilize damaged systems. But it was when he accidentally brushed against one of the deeper connection points that Princess Naira's carefully maintained composure finally cracked. Her breath caught and she stiffened as the armor flared with bright patterns of light that Alex hadn't seen before, deep purple shot through with streaks of gold. "I'm sorry," he said immediately, pulling his hands back. "Did I hurt you?" "No," she replied, though her voice was slightly breathless. "But that section is highly responsive. The neural pathways there connect directly to my parasympathetic nervous system." Alex looked at the connection point he'd accidentally touched, a crystal center where dozens of neural threads came together beneath the armor plating. "Should I avoid those areas entirely?" "You cannot," Princess Naira said, regaining her composure with visible effort. "Those are precisely the connections that require the most careful repair. But perhaps we should establish some ground rules before proceeding." "What kind of ground rules?" Warning when you're about to work on sensitive areas. Maintaining professional focus despite potentially intense responses from the armor system. And understanding that any involuntary reactions I might have are purely body responses. Alex nodded, beginning to appreciate the trust she was placing in him. Your Highness, can I ask you something? Of course. Why aren't you more concerned about letting a human work on technology this advanced? I mean, surely there are security implications. Princess Naira was quiet for a moment, watching the light patterns flow through her armor as it continued responding to his closeness. Engineer Rivera, my people have been fighting this war for 3 years. We have lost entire fleets, whole colonies, countless irreplaceable pieces of technology. At some point, survival becomes more important than secrecy. And you think cooperation with humans is the key to survival? I think, she said carefully, that your species has shown remarkable adaptability and innovation under pressure. The fact that you can work with bio-armor systems despite having no training or experience with them suggests that our technologies might be more compatible than either of our species realized. Alex resumed working on the shoulder connection points, this time prepared for the armor's responses. The repair process was becoming a strange kind of dance. He would locate a damaged pathway, she would guide him through the proper reconnection procedure, and they would both monitor the armor's feedback to ensure the repair was taking hold properly. The next section will be more challenging, Princess Naira warned as Alex finished stabilizing the shoulder repairs. The chestplate connection points connect to primary heart and breathing monitoring systems. The sensitivity level is significantly higher. Alex examined the damaged chest plating, noting the complex web of neural threads that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. How much higher? Imagine the difference between touching someone's hand and touching their heart, she said quietly. The armor will interpret any contact there as either healing or threat. There is no neutral response. And if it interprets my touch as a threat? It will attempt to protect me by activating defensive systems that could seriously injure you, Princess Naira replied matter-of-factly. Which is why absolute trust is essential for this type of repair. Alex looked at her, seeing both the determination and vulnerability in her bright eyes. Your Highness, are you absolutely certain you trust me enough for this? Princess Naira met his gaze steadily. Engineer Rivera, 3 days ago, I had never spoken to a human. Now I am asking you to perform procedures that even our most experienced technicians approach with extreme caution. Logic suggests this is unwise. But you're going to let me do it anyway. I am going to let you do it anyway, she confirmed, because sometimes trust must be given rather than earned, and because I believe your intentions are honorable. As Alex prepared to begin work on the chestplate connections, he realized that what they were doing went far beyond simple repair work. They were conducting an experiment in interspecies cooperation under the most intimate circumstances possible, with her life literally in his hands. Just remember, Princess Naira added with what might have been a smile, that armor can sense dishonesty as easily as healing intent. So whatever you're thinking while you work on me, make sure your motivations are pure. Alex positioned his hands over the damaged chest plating, feeling the warmth coming from the bio-armor and watching the light patterns respond to his approach. No pressure at all, he muttered. Exactly, she replied. Now, shall we begin? The chestplate repairs required a level of precision and intimacy that pushed both Alex and Princess Naira far beyond their comfort zones. The bio-armor's connection points here were so deeply connected to her vital systems that every touch sent waves of sensation through both the mechanical and organic networks. Place your hand here, over the heart monitor connection, Princess Naira instructed, her voice carefully controlled. Feel for the rhythm disruption. The damaged neural pathways are creating irregular feedback loops. Alex pressed his palm against the crystal plate directly over her heart, immediately sensing the irregular patterns she described. The bio-armor pulsed erratically, its glowing pathways flickering with what felt like distress signals. I can feel it, he said, concentrating on the complex rhythms beneath his hand. It's like the system is fighting itself. Precisely. The trauma disrupted the synchronization between my biological rhythms and the armor's control systems. She paused as Alex adjusted his contact pressure. You'll need to manually guide the recalibration process. What followed was unlike any repair work Alex had ever attempted. With Princess Naira's guidance, he learned to sense the subtle differences between healthy and damaged neural pathways. Through touch alone, his hands moved across the chest plating with growing confidence, tracing connections, realigning damaged crystals, and slowly coaxing the bio-armor back into harmony with her body systems. Careful there, she whispered as his fingers found a particularly sensitive connection point. That section connects directly to my breathing control center. Alex paused, his hands still in contact with the warm crystal surface. How can you remain so calm about this? I'm basically performing surgery on your nervous system. Because panic would interfere with the repair process, she replied, though he could hear the strain in her voice. The armor responds to my emotional state. If I become distressed, it becomes more difficult to work with. And if I become distressed? Then it will interpret your touch as hostile and activate defensive protocols that could kill you, Princess Naira said matter-of-factly. So I suggest you remain calm as well. Their conversation was interrupted by the ship's emergency alarms, followed immediately by Captain Hayes' voice over the intercom, "All hands, we have incoming hegemony forces. Estimate 15 minutes to engagement." Alex felt Princess Naira tense beneath his hands, her bio-armor immediately responding with patterns of red and gold that he was learning to recognize as combat readiness mixed with frustration. "We need to stop," Alex said, starting to pull back from the repair work. "No," Princess Naira said firmly, her hand covering his to keep it in place against her armor. "These repairs must be completed before combat. Without full armor functionality, I'm more liability than asset in the coming battle. Your Highness, working on delicate systems while the ship is moving under combat conditions is exactly what we're going to do," she interrupted. "Engineer Rivera, my people are depending on me. I will not enter battle with broken equipment." The ship began to vibrate with the distinctive frequency of engines pushing beyond normal limits. Through the workshop's small window, Alex could see the distant flashes of weapons fire as the fleet moved into combat formation. "Talk me through the spinal connection repairs," Alex said, accepting that they were going to finish this work regardless of circumstances. "What do I need to know?" "Those connections control my body's stress responses and pain management systems," Princess Naira explained as Alex moved to examine the damaged sections along her back. "But they're also tied into the armor's combat enhancement protocols. Damage there affects both my survivability and combat effectiveness." Alex positioned himself behind her, his hands hovering over connection points that pulsed with complex patterns of light. The damaged areas were immediately apparent, sections where the crystal structure had fractured, breaking the neural pathways that connected her spinal column to the bio-armor's network. "I need you to lean forward slightly," he said, trying to maintain professional focus despite the intimacy of the position. "I have to access the deeper connection layers." As Princess Naira complied, Alex began the delicate process of realigning the spinal connections. The work required him to maintain contact with multiple connection points simultaneously, his hands tracing patterns across her back while he felt for the proper neural pathway responses. "The armor is resonating with your biofield," she observed, her voice carrying a note of wonder. "I've never felt anything like this from a non-Ethereum." "Is that good or bad?" "It's unprecedented," she replied. "The connection is happening more smoothly than it should with an unfamiliar technician. Your nervous system seems naturally compatible with our biotechnology." The ship shuddered as it took fire from enemy weapons, causing Alex to momentarily lose his concentration. The bio-armor immediately responded to the disruption with flashing warning patterns. "Stay focused," Princess Naira urged. "The armor can sense your distraction." Alex forced himself to ignore the sounds of battle raging outside the workshop, concentrating instead on the subtle feedback he was receiving through his hands. Gradually, the damaged spinal connections began to stabilize, their light patterns shifting from chaotic flickering to steady rhythmic pulses. "It's working," he breathed, watching as the bio-armor systems began to synchronize properly for the first time since the damage occurred. "Yes," Princess Naira agreed, and Alex could hear the relief in her voice. "The pain management systems are coming back online, and the combat enhancement protocols are responding properly." The ship's artificial gravity fluctuated as they performed another evasive maneuver, but this time Alex maintained his focus, his hands moving instinctively to compensate for the disruption. The bio-armor seemed to approve, its patterns brightening with what he was learning to interpret as satisfaction. "One more connection point," Princess Naira said as Alex completed the spinal repairs. "The primary neural center here at the base of my neck. It coordinates all the other systems." Alex examined the final damaged section, noting its complexity. This connection point was clearly the most sophisticated of all, a crystal matrix where dozens of neural pathways came together in patterns that seemed almost organic in their intricacy. "This is the most sensitive area," she warned. "It connects directly to my brain stem. Any mistake here could cause permanent neurological damage." "No pressure," Alex muttered, positioning his hands carefully over the center point. As he began the final repair, Princess Naira suddenly reached back to grasp his wrist. "Wait," she said quietly. "What's wrong?" "Nothing is wrong," she replied, her bright eyes meeting his. "I simply wanted to thank you. What you're doing, the trust you've shown, the skill you've demonstrated, it goes beyond duty or orders." "Your Highness." "Naira," she corrected. "After today, I think we can dispense with some of the formality." Alex nodded, understanding that they had crossed some invisible boundary during the repair process. "Naira, then. Are you ready for this last part?" "I'm ready," she confirmed, releasing his wrist. "Complete the connection." As Alex's hand settled over the primary neural center, the bio-armor responded with the most brilliant display of light patterns he'd seen yet. The connection point seemed to come alive under his touch, neural pathways reconnecting with smooth precision that felt almost inevitable. "Perfect," Naira whispered, her voice carrying an emotion that Alex couldn't quite identify. "The repair is perfect." The workshop fell silent except for the distant sounds of battle, both of them aware that something significant had just occurred beyond simple equipment repair. Alex had successfully restored functionality to technology that should have been beyond his understanding, while Princess Naira had placed absolute trust in someone she'd met only hours earlier. "Naira," Alex said quietly, "when this battle is over, we need to talk about what just happened here." She turned to meet his gaze, her bio-armor now pulsing with steady, healthy patterns of light. "Yes," she agreed. "I believe we do. But first, they had a war to win." The battle that followed tested every aspect of the repairs Alex had performed on Princess Naira's bio-armor. From his position in the engineering bay, monitoring system diagnostics and damage reports, Alex watched her readings with the intense focus of someone whose work was literally keeping another person alive in combat. "Naira's armor is performing at optimal levels," he reported to Captain Hayes over the comm system. "All neural connection points are stable, and the combat enhancement protocols are responding perfectly." Through the tactical displays, Alex could see Princess Naira leading a squadron of Ethereum fighters in a coordinated assault on the Hegemony flagship. Her bio-armor allowed her to pull maneuvers that would have killed an unenhanced pilot, while its integrated weapon systems gave her firepower that matched small warships. But it was during the height of the battle that the Hegemony revealed their new weapon, biotech disruptor arrays that could shut down Ethereum armor systems remotely. Across the battlefield, Alex watched in horror as Ethereum fighters began falling silent, their pilots suddenly vulnerable as their life support and combat systems failed. "Alex," Naira's voice crackled over the comm, strained with pain and effort. "My armor is being affected by some kind of interference field. The neural pathways are destabilizing." Alex immediately pulled up her readings, seeing the irregular patterns that indicated her bio-armor was fighting against external disruption. "I can see it on the diagnostics. The disruptor field is specifically targeting the connection points we just repaired. Can you compensate?" Alex studied the data streams, his mind racing through possible solutions. The Hegemony weapon seemed designed to exploit the very neural connections that made Ethereum bio-armor so effective, turning the system's greatest strength into a critical vulnerability. "Maybe," he said, his fingers flying over his control panel. "I'm uploading a stabilization protocol to your armor systems. It should help compensate for the disruption, but you'll need to activate it manually." "How?" "Focus on the primary neural center, the connection point at the base of your neck. Try to consciously control the neural feedback instead of letting the armor handle it automatically." There was a pause filled with the sounds of weapons fire and maneuvering thrusters. Then Naira's voice came back, steadier than before. "It's working. The interference is still there, but I can fight through it." Working together across the chaos of the battlefield, Alex monitoring and adjusting while Naira implemented his modifications in real time, they developed countermeasures that not only protected her armor, but could be transmitted to other Ethereum pilots. Within minutes, fighters that had been falling out of formation were rejoining the battle with renewed effectiveness. "How did you know that would work?" Captain Hayes asked Alex as the tide of battle began to turn in their favor. "Because I understand how her armor integrates with her nervous system," Alex replied, still monitoring Naira's readings. The disruptor weapon was designed based on incomplete knowledge of Ethereum biotechnology. It assumed the armor operated independently of the pilot's conscious control. "And it doesn't?" "Not anymore. The repairs I performed created new pathways that allow for direct conscious control of the connection process. It's more demanding for the pilot, but it makes the system immune to external disruption." The battle concluded with a decisive victory for the Allied forces, but Alex barely noticed the celebration. He was focused entirely on Naira's bio-armor readings, ensuring that the modifications they'd implemented during combat hadn't caused any adverse effects. When Princess Naira finally returned to the Valiant, Alex was waiting in the docking bay. Her bio-armor showed the stress patterns of extended combat, but the underlying systems were stable and healthy. "The modifications you developed," she said as they walked toward the workshop, "they don't just provide protection from disruptor weapons. They fundamentally changed how the bio-armor operates." "How so?" "The connection is deeper now, more responsive. I have conscious control over systems that were previously automatic. It's like the difference between riding in a vehicle and becoming one with it." Alex nodded, understanding the implications. The repair process didn't just fix the damage. It created new neural pathways that enhanced the existing connection. "And it's not just my armor," Naira continued. "The other pilots who implemented your modifications are reporting similar improvements: enhanced reflexes, better system synchronization, more intuitive control over their equipment." They entered the workshop where Alex had performed the repairs just hours earlier, though it felt like days had passed. The space looked different now, less like a cramped repair bay and more like the birthplace of a technological revolution. "Naira," Alex said, "what we've discovered here goes beyond just military applications. The compatibility between human bioelectric fields and Ethereum biotechnology suggests possibilities that neither of our species has explored." "Joint development programs," she agreed. "Combined research initiatives. Your people's engineering innovation merged with our biotechnological expertise. But that would require unprecedented cooperation between our species. Full technology sharing, integrated research teams, complete trust." Princess Naira moved to the workbench where Alex's tools still lay scattered from the repair session. 3 days ago, I would have said such cooperation was impossible. Cultural differences, security concerns, centuries of separate development. And now? She picked up one of his neural interface scanners, watching as her bio-armor automatically adjusted to provide compatibility with the human-designed device. "Now I believe that survival requires evolution, and evolution requires cooperation." Over the following weeks, their partnership deepened beyond the immediate demands of war. Alex found himself assigned as permanent liaison engineer to Princess Naira's command, working alongside Ethereum technicians to develop hybrid technologies that combined the best of both civilizations. The workshop they eventually shared was a marvel of integrated design, human engineering tools seamlessly merged with Ethereum biotechnological interfaces, creating an environment where both species could work comfortably and effectively. It became a prototype for similar facilities throughout the Allied fleet. "The new armor designs are exceeding all performance projections," Naira reported during one of their evening planning sessions. "Response time improved by 30%, power efficiency up 45%, and the pilots report feeling more connected to their equipment than ever before." Alex looked up from the holographic schematics they'd been reviewing, noting the satisfied glow patterns in Naira's bio-armor. "You sound surprised." "I am surprised," she admitted. "Not by the technical success, but by how natural this collaboration feels. Working with you doesn't feel like interspecies cooperation. It feels like completing something that was always meant to be whole." The comment hung in the air between them, carrying implications that went beyond professional partnership. Over the weeks they'd spent working together, the intimacy required for bio-armor maintenance had evolved into something deeper, a connection that transcended the boundaries of species, culture, and the formal protocols that governed their positions. "Naira," Alex said carefully, "what are we doing here? I mean, beyond the technical work." She was quiet for a moment, her armor's light patterns shifting through colors he'd learned to associate with contemplation. "We are proving that understanding between species is possible. That trust can be built even under the most challenging circumstances. That working together makes both of us more than we could be alone." "And personally?" "Personally," she said, meeting his eyes with characteristic directness, "I have discovered that the most advanced bio-armor in the galaxy is still no protection against emotions I was not prepared to feel." Alex moved closer to her, watching the way her armor responded to his presence with the same welcoming patterns it had shown during that first repair session. "The feeling is mutual." "This complicates everything," Naira pointed out, though she made no move to increase the distance between them. "Yes," Alex agreed. "It does. Military protocols, diplomatic considerations, the expectations of both our peoples. All very complicated," Alex confirmed. "And yet," Naira said, her armor glowing with patterns that spoke of contentment and deep trust, "I find I do not care about complications as much as I care about possibilities." 6 months later, their workshop had become the heart of a joint research initiative that was revolutionizing both human and Ethereum technology. The bio-armor improvements they'd pioneered were now standard across the Allied fleets, while the human engineering techniques that made those improvements possible were being integrated into Ethereum manufacturing processes. But more than technological advancement, their partnership had become a symbol of what was possible when different species chose cooperation over conflict. Other mixed-species research teams were being established throughout the Alliance, following the model they'd created. "The war is ending," Alex observed as they reviewed intelligence reports showing hegemony forces in full retreat. "Their biotech disruption weapons are useless now, and they can't compete with our integrated technologies." "A good thing," Naira replied, adjusting his setting on the latest armor prototype they'd been developing. "Though I confess, I will miss the urgency that brought us together." "Who says the urgency has to end?" Alex asked, activating a holographic display showing their next project, a civilian application of bio-armor technology that could revolutionize medical treatment for both species. "There's still plenty of work to do." Naira smiled, the expression transforming her regal features into something warmer and more personal. "Indeed, there is. Though I suspect our future challenges will be quite different from repairing battle damage in the middle of a war zone." "Different," Alex agreed, "but no less important. And definitely no less interesting." As they returned to their work, surrounded by the tools and technologies that represented the fusion of their two civilizations, Alex reflected on how much had changed since that desperate day when he'd been asked to repair alien technology he didn't understand. He'd found not just his true calling in biomechanical engineering, but a partnership that had transformed both of their lives and potentially the future of their species. The bio-armor pulsed with steady, healthy light patterns, a visible reminder that the most sophisticated technology in the galaxy was still no match for the simple human capacity to offer help when it was needed most. "Who says the urgency has to end?" Alex asked, activating a holographic display showing their next project, a civilian application of bio-armor technology that could revolutionize medical treatment for both species. "There's still plenty of work to do." Naira smiled, the expression transforming her regal features into something warmer and more personal. "Indeed, there is. Though I suspect our future challenges will be quite different from repairing battle damage in the middle of a war zone." Different, Alex agreed, but no less important. And definitely no less interesting. As they returned to their work, surrounded by the tools and technologies that represented the fusion of their two civilizations, Alex reflected on how much had changed since that desperate day when he'd been asked to repair alien technology he didn't understand. He'd found not just his true calling in biomechanical engineering, but a partnership that had transformed both of their lives and potentially the future of their species. The bio-armor pulsed with steady, healthy light patterns, a visible reminder that the most sophisticated technology in the galaxy was still no match for the simple human capacity to offer help when it was needed most.